This week on Sustainable Events Dog Walk, we're talking buzzwords. What are they? Why do you care? And is sustainability one? All right, then let's go. Alicia here, out for a walk with my dog, Reenie. Reenie's my little scraggly muppet. She's a terrier schnauzer mix, and she loves to roll in the grass. This is Sustainable Events Dog Walk, a short podcast from Positive+Impact Event Consulting, where you can get a quick nugget about sustainability for your events and event business while on a walk with Alicia and her dog, Reenie. Sustainability is a big project, but we'll get there together, one little step at a time. This week, let's talk a little bit about whether sustainability is a buzzword. In general, we have this concern, right? There's a couple ways that I like to think about this. First of all, buzzword implies that it is both hot topic, coming up a lot, people talking about it a lot, but also maybe a trend or a short-lived phenomenon. I'm going to Google buzzword while this car goes by. Fine. Buzzword. A buzzword is a word or phrase, new or already existing, that becomes popular for a period of time. Buzzwords often derive from technical terms, yet often have much of the original technical meaning removed through fashionable use, being simply used to impress others. Okay, this is actually a really great definition. A word or phrase, often an item of jargon that is fashionable at a particular time or in a particular context. So that is why this is great. This is like subconsciously, this is why I spend so much time defining what I mean when I'm talking about sustainability. Because intuitively, I want to take away the element of jargon or indefinable technical term. And another one that I was just talking with a friend of mine, Lisa Schulteis, who talks about neuroscience at events, and how since there was a whole collection at IMEX of neuroscience talks and talks that touched on the topic, there was a question of whether it was becoming a buzzword. And I think when we work at bigger companies, we need to be conscientious of this idea most of the time. Like, when was DEI a buzzword as opposed to diversity, equity, and inclusion? When has sustainability been a buzzword and means we put out recycle bins and not that we're trying to maintain the literal ability to sustain humanity by our various practices? Neuroscience obviously is a much more precise and sticky one for buzzword candidacy because it's a real science. And if you are talking about it without the expertise of a real scientist, then that's walking a dangerous line pretty quickly. And for instance, Lisa has her education in neuroscience and so has some real basis to talk about that, as opposed to more of what I would do, which is imply neuroscience or psychology into the way that I'm talking about things. So if my question today is sustainability a buzzword? I think that's a case of not being a single answer. I think it is a case-by-case basis. In your office, in your mind, is sustainability a buzzword? Do you genuinely understand that when you are talking about the sustainability of your project or of your decisions, that you are looking at how those choices may or may not support humanity in being sustained through in perpetuity? Are you looking at environmentalism? Are you looking at social and community health? Are you looking at personal health? Are you looking at economic sustainability? If you're just saying the word sustainability and you mean that interchangeably with recycling, then I would say yes, that is buzzword. If the people around you are doing that, then yeah, they are suffering in a buzzword context. If you are seeing articles from your various associations and conferences talking about sustainability, but then the content of the article is the same content as every other article, there's no expansion, there's no depth, and there's no definitions, there's no clarity. The person and or AI that wrote it seems to be reformatting the same information into a new article. I would say that's buzzword territory. And then lastly, let's just cover really quickly, what's the ramification if it is or isn't a buzzword? Does it matter to me, a sustainability expert? Do I think it matters? Is there something we need to do about it? Is there something you need to be taking into consideration? And I think in our industry, the prevalence of trends in design or preferences, activities, personality are constant. It's rolling, it's continuous because, we all desire novelty. We're all on the lookout for new ways to stimulate our attendees, our clients. The danger is that things that are meaningful and have long-term impact are treated as short-term trends, which is why in 2024 and the beginning of 2025, when sustainability was in the top 10 trends of the year, I pushed back on that a bit, and I was posting, not necessarily in opposition to that, but comments warning against that attitude, because things like neuroscience, things like sustainability, things like burnout, these are not trends. It might be trendy that we are realizing or thinking about it, but their existence is not a trend along the lines of gingham tablecloths or fairy theme or outdoor camping theme. They will persistently have an effect and maintain their importance. So for you, I think it's important to cultivate a practice of realizing the difference between something being a trendy trend and something being a new point of clarity in the industry or new information that will become part of your toolkit. Being new and being trendy are not synonymous. And I hope if you're listening, it's because you think that there is something important to be gleaned from thinking about sustainability in events, and that the idea of sustaining humanity throughout time with making good choices and the ability that events have to lead in culture and in practice of large volumes of people, even though in the end it's invisible and it's like it never happened, but it has a big effect. If you have that perspective, hopefully you also have the perspective of realizing that if something is new information, new baseline, new knowledge, that it's important to help the people around you, your bosses, your employees, your associations, to recognize the difference, not get swept up in trendiness and buzzwords, and instead break through that jargon, develop a real understanding, and not fall into it as a trap of, we're popping up on our SEO and our AI, everything that we can about that topic because people seem interested, but it will not persist. I'd be interested to know, when you started hearing about or thinking about sustainability, did you think it was a buzzword? Did you think it was a flash in the pan and a trend? Or did you think, oh yeah, this is finally happening, this is something serious that's going to change the baseline? And even if I haven't convinced you that that's the case, I'd be interested to know, because there's a lot of us in this industry and we all have a lot of impact, and I think it's really vital to understand. To give me any feedback, you can find my contact info in the description of this podcast. If you have questions, I'm always happy to answer those in the podcast to the best of my ability. And I will see you back next week for more event sustainability tips, tricks, ideas, recommendations, referrals, and philosophy. I'll see you then. Thanks for joining me on Sustainable Events Dog Walk. I'm Alicia Drewby, founder of Positive+Impact Event Consulting, and I want to help you integrate sustainability into your event business so you're ready to make every event you work on more sustainable. See you next time.